Thank you for tuning into the Three Circles Living podcast, where you can learn how to improve your life. And it doesn't matter if you want to accelerate your professional career, have better relationships personally or in your profession, be healthier, or find your purpose in life. This is your podcast, and we're happy that you're here. And also make sure to share it. If you find it something valuable, leave a comment. If you have feedback or any questions, we're here. Just leave it. Today, it's part two of real examples from as a follow-up from what your doctor can't tell you.
Well, it's actually part three of what your doctor can't tell you, but it's part two of the stories, right?
Yeah, part two of the stories. And we could have probably part 100 of these stories, but we'll dial it down. And today it's really everything that we've talked about in the last few episodes about what they can talk to you about, what you should be doing, what you can do, what's in your control. I think we have some really amazing examples, and I'm actually gonna ask Todd to talk more about it because he has a few. We have three or four today if we get to all of them. There are more, but I want to talk about one and I want to ask you about one because I hear that more and more, and it's not just about older age anymore when they talk about knee replacement or hip replacement or anything like that. I see it. I just saw somebody in my circle that had a full hip replacement in her early 30s. And I was like, oh, like it hurt me. It's painful to watch. So I wanted to ask you about your experience, how how it got there and what you did now and where you are now. I
Yeah,
know
I'm
a lot of
happy to
questions.
share. And this is another example of being grateful that we're in the age of medicine that we're in, right?
Hmm.
Because if it was however many years before, I'm probably, at some one point you couldn't get it replaced, and it would have been horrible for me. I mean, I did it to myself. I played a lot of sports in my life, and I played a lot of basketball. And I played a lot of outdoor basketball on asphalt barefooted, which is insane, but I did. I mean, I just loved being barefoot. I went years where I barely wear shoes at all, which is I still operate that way. But playing basketball barefoot, playing basketball anyway will ruin your knees if you play hard. And I played hard, and I had my first scope. I played in leagues all the way until I was in my late 40s. And I had my first scope of my knee in my early 30s, where they had to go in and clean it up. And I had four of those done on my left knee, one done on my right knee. The left knee took more of it because I was a right-handed player and a left, which means all the all the power and torquing was coming from my left leg more often. And after my first couple of scopes, they were already saying, you know what, you're going to need to get this knee replaced, and the sooner you do it, the better, because it's shredded. And there's all kind of osteoarthritis in it, and you're already bone on bone. And I was in my late 30s when they started talking about it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I was terrified of that. But I was able to manage it from a lifestyle perspective because they were looking at X-rays, going, "You're not in pain all the time." I'm like, "No, I'm never in pain until I injure it again." So
Yeah.
once you start shredding it, you can be in a game or get pushed or something happens, and now you tear more, and they
Mhm.
have to go in and clean the tear out. And so they're looking at the X-rays, and the doctor's like, "You're not in pain." I'm like, "No, I'm not in pain until I injure." And
I want everybody to understand this, what he just said. He said bone on bone, and he's not in pain.
yeah, I was not in pain. And he's like, "Well,
Yeah.
how's that possible?" Like, because I know the right nutrients to put into
Mhm.
my body to send resources to that area, because I knew the wellness equation. I was living it. But they didn't want to know what I was doing. They just they kind of shook their head and laughed at it a little bit. And again, this guy was really good at what he did. And I'm grateful I had him because he helped me. But he couldn't help me do what I needed to do from a wellness side. And then finally, when I had to have the knee replaced, and that was an incident, I jumped off of a boat. I was 4 feet in the air onto concrete, which was, again, this doesn't say anything about how smart I am, right? And that was an explosive event. I was 52 at that time. And I mean, right after I did it, I'm like, oh, that was so dumb. And it was to the point where I couldn't walk 10 minutes. I mean, I was in extraordinary, I'm saying I couldn't walk 10 minutes, meaning by 10 minutes, the pain was so extreme that I couldn't take another step. I was in pain all the time. So I knew, all right, I don't really have a choice if I want quality of life and to do the things to go through with this. And so I had the knee replacement. I was fortunate. I had a fantastic surgeon who's one of the best in the country at what he did. But I knew what to do from a healing perspective. I knew what nutrients to take. I knew to completely eliminate inflammation from my body coming into surgery. So I ate anti-inflammatory. And then literally in the hospital after my surgery, I snuck in potent enzymes, potent antioxidants, and other potent nutrients that aided healing and removing toxins. And I immediately started doing that in the hospital. And I'm not telling people what to do. I'm just telling you what I did because I'm going to do what I do to take care of myself. I'm not giving advice. I'm just giving you an example. And I was taking extraordinarily high therapeutic levels of these nutrients. And in my recovery, within 5 weeks, I could do things people could not normally do after 12. By the 9th week, I was paddleboarding in the Caribbean. And I remember my 3rd week. Now, I also worked very hard in rehab. I mean, I went to all the rehab and again, the balance of taking advantage of what's offered in the medical side, but also being super focused on the wellness side. I minimized how much time I needed in the medical side, and I maximized my impact from it. You know, they told me what exercises I could do outside of rehab. I did them 4 times a day. I mean, I actually did a video about this that's had a couple 100,000 views and it's helped lots of people. But the point was that I remember going into this was the 3rd week after my surgery, and my PT, who was a 25-year veteran, was the top person in the area that I was in. Everybody knew this person and said, that's who you want to go to. She's looking at me going, are you documenting this? She says, I've been doing this for 25 years. I've never seen anyone get rid of the inflammation in their knee as fast as you. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anybody recover range of motion. I mean, I have more range of motion now in that leg than I had when I was 35. I worked for it, but that was an example of doing the wellness side while utilizing the medical side.
Yeah.
But nobody wanted to know what I was doing. They were just saying, whatever you're doing, don't stop doing it because your results are incredible. And then the other moral of the knee story is the right knee, because the other knee is relatively bone on bone. And they were telling me when they did the left one, you're going to need to come back in and get the right one done. I'm like, well, we'll see. And so that was 11 years ago. It's 53 when I had the left one done. Now I'm 64. I don't have an ounce of pain in the right knee, none. And do I play basketball anymore? No, because that would be stupid. You know, I'm not interested in further damage to it. I could, but I don't, because I enjoy too much fishing and crabbing and paddleboarding and playing and doing all the other things I do. But the point is, because of all the wellness side stuff, knowing the right nutrients to take, keeping my body minimal inflammation, operating by the 5 and 2 philosophy, managing the way I eat on a consistent basis, and of course the exercise that I do, I don't have any pain at all in a knee they told me was going to need surgery relatively soon. So that's a little bit, I mean, I'm being cryptic because I don't want to promote anything. I want to give you understanding that there's so much more that you can do than you realize you can do
Yes.
for yourself. And my knee experience was a fantastic example of that.
Especially when it comes to such a big operation surgery, like to your body, right? I feel I have the same thing, like if I can throw that in real quick with my back, where I was told like I needed back surgery and have it like fused together because I had similar, like where it was bone on bone at some point, and I couldn't do anything, not sit, not walk, not do anything. And here I am, I didn't have surgery.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
knowing like exactly what I can take, how I can live my life, have a lifestyle, have the wellness, and really work on that.
And what exercises you can do to
Yes,
rebuild the areas around it. The body is an
exactly.
absolutely amazing machine. It
Yeah.
is well beyond anything man knows to do. The
Yeah.
body knows, right?
And it doesn't have to do with age. It doesn't matter how old you are, because my dad also broke his collarbone and shoulder when he was in his late 50s. And they also told him, oh, you cannot, you have to be in the hospital, you cannot move, you can't do that. The first day after surgery, he also took some nutrients and knew what to do. And he could move his arms, and they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, why? I'm fine. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with age. It has all to do with like, what do you use and how do you live? How do you change things, like to what you said as well, like the exercises, the food, lifestyle in general. But I know you also had like a more acute story. I actually want to jump to that because um, again, this is in collaboration with the medical system as we know it. We're very happy about it, but there is so much that you can do to make it easier for yourself and not have to suffer as much. So I want you to tell the story because,
So I'll try to keep this story.
yes.
This story, if I could tell the whole story, is actually quite amusing because so much of it was my own stupidity, except for the actual incident itself. So this was last summer. I guess it's 16 months ago from right now. And I was out with a buddy. It was 6:30 in the morning. He was visiting. We were doing some fishing and crabbing. And so I'm in the water wearing some very light water shoes. I'm just talking enough that if you step on a piece of glass or something, you can feel it and it won't, you can get your foot off of it without getting hurt, and you won't get hurt by regular stuff. And I stepped up onto a big log and essentially jumped down. And when I jumped down, there had been a piece of a dock that had drifted in and settled under this log, and there was a giant nail sticking straight up out of this log. And when I jumped down, I jumped directly onto the nail, and it went all the way through my foot and poked out the top. And I'll minimize my stupidity because most people would have immediately gone to a hospital. After I finished yelling and went through the 5 minutes of absolutely insane pain, I started like moving my foot around, like, this isn't, I can handle this. And it did it because fortunately the nail was curved. I learned this later because a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I was back in the water and I went and found what it was and pulled it out of the river so it didn't happen to somebody else. The nail was curved. And so while it came out right over the bone in my toe at the front of my foot, it actually went in and curved around it. And so it didn't hit any bone, which is why I could keep going, which is unfortunate for what happened because essentially, yeah, I figured I needed a tetanus shot or something, right? But I just ignored it. And I continued in brackish water, which is full of all kinds of bacteria, and fishing and crabbing the rest of the day. And I woke up the next morning and my foot was like gigantic. And it was insane, the amount of pain. And I went to a clinic, and the woman at the clinic is like, when did you do this? And I said, yesterday. So when I went to the clinic, it was 11 o'clock the next day. She's like, so this was like 30 hours ago you did this? I'm like, yeah. So can you give me an antibiotic or so? She goes, no, you need to go directly to the emergency room. This is way beyond anything oral. Your life is in danger. I'm like, really? Really? I mean, that's how I didn't have a fever. I had nothing else. I just had this insane giant foot. And so I get there, of course, and then they're like, they terrorized me, and I ended up in the hospital for 3 days, and they had to consult with a local university, and they couldn't tell what they were treating because the foot was totally swollen and closed. They couldn't culture it. So I was on 3 days of IV drips in both arms of a variety of different, of the most potent antibiotics that addressed every kind of class of thing. And there's so many stories around wellness that relate to my stay in the hospital. Like, they immediately gave me this heart thing and put it on me. I'm like, what's this for? I had this little box I had to hold in my hand. I'm like, well, because, then I was 63, right? And first of all, I couldn't believe I wasn't on medications. They couldn't believe I wasn't a diabetic because I had this foot, right? Because that was systemization, right? I mean, that they were just doing what they're trained to do. And I'm like, look at me. Do I look diabetic? I'm not diabetic. Do I look like I have type 2 diabetes? Do I look like I'm in that situation? Do I look like I have a heart issue? But they had to treat me the way they would treat anybody who came in who was my age, with my health, with my genetics, etc. And I remember at one night, the second night I'm in the hospital, because I'm holding this monitor thing, right, on my heart. And the nurse comes flying in my room at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what's going on? She goes, your heart rate is so low. I'm like, what is it? She says, it's like 48. I'm like, that's pretty normal for me. I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm in shape. It's my heart rate, if I'm just doing nothing, is not high. And so after she had to monitor me another hour, and then she comes back in and it was still the same, and I was fine. I'm like, can I take this thing off now? She's like, yeah. And so, but the real point of this is that what I was dealing with, because it was a very, very dangerous infection. I learned later. I didn't know. I didn't know. And I learned later that lots of people die from where I was, or they lose their limb from where I was, and their recovery is substantially long. I came home after the third day. They made me stay an extra day because they had to wait out the initial blood tests to see what grew, to see if they were making sure they had me on something for whatever bug might have been in there. And then I started ramping up. I mean, I was actually doing push-ups in my hospital room. Nobody saw me do them, but because I was celebrating my birthday. So I did 10 push-ups for every year. I did 630 push-ups in a short window because I was, going stir crazy. And I came home. I started immediately. Well, I had my neighbor, while I was in the hospital, bring me some stuff because my wife was out of town. I said, just please go into my house and bring me a bottle of this and this and this, supplement-wise. So he snuck them in, and I was taking them when nobody was seeing me. And then I came home and ramped up everything. And within 2 weeks of the injury, I was crabbing again. Now, I couldn't submerge my foot in water, so I was walking in waders in 95-degree weather. I had to literally wring my socks out. But the point is, I physically could, because I had spent so much in the wellness time, and in this incident, the medical system saved my life. But the wellness side is what built me back so fast, right? A week after that, I went to Greece and was walking 10 to 15 miles a day for 10 days and with no problems, like no pain, no soreness, nothing. So that's how fast it was able to recover, because that's what a well body can do when you're operating. But I did a blog on that. I forget what it's called. If you go to my website and just put nail, NAIL, in the search, it'll be comical. There's a few lessons in there, but you'll actually enjoy the read, because the amount of stupid stuff I did, that's what caused me to be in such a disastrous situation, is pretty comical. I behaved like a teenager, which I am a little bit, but we're all teenagers still. It's just, we learn to manage some of that.
Yeah. Just a lesson, like when you have anything like that, go get it checked out first. Even if it doesn't hurt. Like
I will be doing that. I'm no longer, but it's still got to be pretty. I mean, I've cut myself in the river since and not done anything about it, because it wasn't, pure penetration. I mean, literally, I drilled a hole in my foot that size. It went all the way through. So that's going to take some time. And it's obviously an entree for anything to go into your body. But
I'm glad that it all went that smoothly, because definitely worrying at that point. But yes, work with your medical professionals.
Again, if it weren't for doctors, I would have been dead. That's just the bottom line. So I have, when I need to go in that lane, I'm in there. But I don't stop doing what I do.
I also want to, real quick, I know we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to touch on something because it's still pretty relevant, especially what happened in the last 5-ish years, when we talk about COVID and how everything shut down, everybody was worried. And I know you and I weren't worried. We had to analyze the situation, what it was, because it was definitely something new. But I definitely want to hear like how you approached it and how you got through it. I know that you also did a lot of leadership meetings and sessions with other people. Like, were you worried? And if not, why? What did you do?
So first, personally, I wasn't worried at all. I didn't have COVID. Didn't scare me at all. And really, because I understood it was it's a coronavirus. They've been around forever. This was a little weirded one. It was a little weird. And we'll never know the truth about what it is. And then when it occurred, I didn't go down the rabbit hole of all the terrorization, because I just didn't trust anything. I didn't trust anything I heard from anyone. But I did trust taking care of myself. And so what I did in COVID is I specifically ramped up. Now, my vitamin D level always stays high, but I elevated it further. I ramped up the amount of zinc that I was using, because zinc, it makes it very hard for a virus to multiply. I was ramping up strong immune nutrients from the Amazonian rainforest and myceuticals that have mushrooms and a lot of different plants that are all known. Let's face it, mankind has been treating themselves with plants since way before medicine was a thing. And so I knew my immune system was strong. So I did not fear getting the virus. And I didn't change my behavior all that much, except when I didn't have a choice, right? I mean, I didn't want to wear a mask to exercise. So instead of going to the gym, I went to a playground and worked out. And I still did leadership trainings and leadership events, and I still traveled, and I still did, except for that window of time when things were mostly shut. After that, I functioned normally, and I had no issues, but I did get COVID. I didn't get COVID in 2020. I got it in like 2021. And I only tested for it because my wife had it. And so I needed to test for it. But I never had a symptom. And I know that some people say, oh, well, you're just one of those lucky people that
Mhm.
You can say that, and that may be true. I tend to think it's because my body was an environment that COVID couldn't really replicate in. I had it, I tested positive for it for like 8 days, but I never had a symptom. It didn't change. I mean, yeah, I was conscious. I didn't go out in public because I was being conscious of other people,
Mm.
but I worked out every day. I lived my life. I spent time on the river. I did all the things I normally do. And I know it was because my health and wellness had me at such a strong immune system. I mean, I think I mentioned the last time to you, the last time I actually had a day of any kind of sickness was Christmas of 2017.
Mm.
And that was the first time in multiple years. And the only reason that happened was normally, I'm going to contract things because,
Mhm.
most years until last year when I shut my training and speaking business down so that I could focus totally on my current project, I did 30 to 50 events a year. You're talking about a
Mm.
lot of close proximity, a lot of stress
Yeah.
on the body, a lot of travel. I never got sick. And the only reason I got sick that day is I left the house to go down to see my mother, who was she was in a home down in Virginia. We were living in Maryland. It was an hour and a half drive. And on the way down, I noticed a tickle in my throat. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, and I didn't have anything with me. Normally, when that happens, I have
Mhm.
some of the things I
Yeah.
already mentioned. I just power them up and it's gone.
Mhm.
But I didn't have them. I'm like, oh man, I don't have any of my tools. And so I don't have any extra resources to allocate. And sure enough, that it got hold in the next 24 hours and I was down for the count for several days. But that's the last time I've been sick for a day where I felt sick. You could say, well, you were sick because you had COVID. I think having something and being sick are two different things.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I contracted COVID, but I didn't experience it.
Yeah.
And that is because you can make, through wellness practices, you can make your immune system incredibly strong. And that doesn't mean you won't contract things. It just means that they won't take root. They just will not.
Yeah.
Or if they do, it's mild. Even when I had sickness in the years before that, it would be mild. Like I don't remember the last time I had a cold, but when I would get a cold, it'd be gone in 3 or 4 days. That's not most people's experience. It's
Yeah.
usually 2 weeks, or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's just operating in the wellness world to minimize the amount of time and energy and cost that you have to spend
Mhm.
in the medical side. That's all. That's just playing the balance and choosing which side you're going to be on.
Yeah. I love that. And that's actually like for all the parents out there that is, I hear that all the time. It's like, oh, my kids' school started and everybody gets sick and it then just perpetuates and it's a cycle and it's every other month that they bring something home. Yes, they bring something home, like to your point, it's all around us, no matter where you go. You cannot avoid it, but you can help it so it doesn't take effect actually in your body. And
Yeah,
even like also to your point, what you said, when you feel that tickle, you can still do stuff about it. You don't have to let it just run its course.
yeah, you don't just go, oh, I'm getting sick. No, it's like, oh, I need to beef up.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So, oh my gosh, there's so much information, so many amazing stories. And again, we could fill hours and hours of those stories.
Yeah, this is the tip of
Um,
the iceberg, but
yeah.
those are three that are in different arenas that
Mhm.
hopefully they give you people hope,
Yeah.
understanding. There's so much more out there that you're just not aware of, but you
Mm.
can find it now. It's not hidden. It's just not promoted
Yeah.
because there isn't a lot of money to be
Yeah.
made promoting wellness. There's not. It's just
That's the difference.
call it what it is. That doesn't mean you can't find it if you're being proactive and open and recognize that you get a lot of information thrown at you every day, a lot of marketing thrown at you every day. That doesn't make all that stuff the absolute truth.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest difference. Like look at it Is it marketing or is it actually information? Just
Not
ask
even a
yourself
fine
that.
line anymore.
No, yeah, there isn't. So anyways, if you have any questions about any of that, or you want us to go deeper into something that we said, write them under the podcast, under the YouTube video. We're happy to dive into it, comment back to you, reach out to you, like whatever it is that is most convenient for you. But we are here, and we'll certainly talk more about wellness because it's such a big topic. And we might have more stories, but next week will be a little bit different.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Chris,
Thanks so
thank
much.
you for being such an amazing hostess.
You're welcome. I love it. Thanks for having me.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.